to my channel. I am Letitia and this is That's So Letitia. And to all of my new viewers, supporters, subscribers, welcome guys, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy the content. And to all of my returning viewers, supporters, and subscribers, welcome back guys. As always, it is a pleasure to see you. Without further ado, let's jump right into this video. So for today's video, we are going to do some underpainting. It is a method used to apply your base, cream, and your essential products to your face in a way that is very blended, very natural looking, and it also helps to prevent your makeup from looking muddy. What does muddy mean? Muddy basically means, in terms of makeup, when you are applying multiple products on top of one another, sometimes those shades can kind of muddy one another. And if there are some products that you are trying to maximize the color or the pigment, such as bronzers, such as blushes, but you've applied so much of your concealer as well as foundation on top of one another, this is why a lot of times we tend to over apply those products or state that they don't work as well as they work for others, because we're applying them on top of layers and layers and layers of makeup that we've already applied. So without further ado, let's get started. And of course, we're going to start with our base. This is by One Size Beauty. This is the Secure the Sweat Face Primer. I like underpainting. I will say, full transparency, that the reason I don't do it as often is because it takes more work. It takes you to actually slow down, learn your face, learn the proper placement of your makeup, as opposed to just kind of putting everything on top of one another. No, this actually requires that you sit down, be still, and do your makeup. And not all the time do I have the time for that, but I will say when I do underpaint, it's very rewarding, and you can really tell the difference when you underpaint as opposed to just applying everything on top of each other. And the reason I say you can tell the difference is because your makeup doesn't look so muddy and it tends to look more fluid, which means it's flowing more naturally, and it just really complements the face. So now that I've applied my primer, I'm going to actually go in first and use my contour shade. Contour shade I'm going to use is by Juvia's Place I Am Magic, and this is in shade number 6. So we're going to first apply that up in here. Here and here and a little bit of here. And then I'm going to use just a regular brush. This is a Sephora brush that I honestly believe they probably don't make anymore. This brush is well over 10 years old, probably a little bit older than that. It doesn't even have the number on it anymore, but I'm going to use this to blend in the contour. And the cool thing also about underpainting is, you see how it's looking crazy here? Like, all of that is going to be repaired once we actually do add our complexion product. And now I'm going to take, this is also a very old brush. This is a MAC brush. I want to say this brush is the equivalent to the Morphe M433. You see them side by side. This is the Morphe, this is the MAC brush. I've had this brush, oh my gosh, I well over 15 years I've had this brush. I'm just going to blend out this contour. we are going to move in with our color corrector. Because of course, I am a color corrector girly. It doesn't matter if I'm under or overpainting, I have to use color corrector. This is the Faux Filter Color Corrector in shade Papaya. But because we are underpainting, I'm going to go in very lightly. Not so much on the color corrector. Just enough to make its presence known, but not enough to where I have to use a very large amount of product to cover the orange. Okay, and I'm just going to blend it out using a Makeup Shack T29 brush. And now for our concealers, I'm going to use 3. Literally 3 this time. So I'm going to go in order of brightness to closest to my skin tone. First, I'm going to apply the Tower 28, and this is a serum based concealer. It is shade SAMO, SAMO, and I'm going to apply this directly under my eye. And moving forward, I'm going to apply Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer in shade 51. And I'm going to apply that right under the Tower 28 concealer. And then even below that, I'm going to apply by Huda Beauty the Faux Filter Concealer. This is in shade number 7.3G or Salted Caramel. And I'm going to let those dry down just a little bit. And while the under eye concealers are drying down a bit, I'm going to apply a little bit more of the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer to my T-zone area, or what's left of it. Meaning, we're going to go up in here and be very light as to how much we're applying. And then we're going to apply some here. Well, as a little bit of the Tower 28, I'm going to mix in with the Huda Beauty. And this would be the time to now, again, while these are drying down, consider blushes. So I am going to do a cream blush. This is, do I want to do this one or, yeah, let's do this one. So this is Love by Rare Beauty. I'm going to keep this one to the side just until I'm able to blend out the concealers, and then we're going to add the blush. For precision purposes, I'm going to blend out using a damp beauty sponge. Now normally, you guys know I went back to blending out concealers with a brush, but I want to make sure that I keep maximum control of everything that is on my face. For that reason, we're going to use more or less a tiny applicator, and now we're just going to blend out. And then applying it in thin layers as I did also will help placement of where you want your bright to be. you know, your bright to closest to your skin tone to be. And like, look at that. I love how that flows. That is perfect. And I'm just blending it out layer by layer. And it helps when you allow it to dry down a little bit. It also gives you more control. The product doesn't move as much. And then if you like, you can honestly take and blend some of the concealer up into the contoured area. And now we're going to apply the blush. Remember, liquid blush. This is by Rare Beauty. Shade is Love. And of course, for things such as blush, especially if you apply it with a light hand, you can always reinforce it later on when you use a powder blush on top of it. We have our contour, we have our concealer, we have our color corrector, we have on our blush. So now we're going to move into our actual foundation. But good news is, since we've already applied so much of our base, we're going to pretty much spot apply the foundation. So the foundation I'm going to use for this video, this is the newest foundation by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Impeccable Blurring Second Skin Matte Foundation, and the shade I wear in this one is 6W. If you guys have not yet purchased this one and you're on the fence, I say this one gets my stamp of approval. It is a beautiful matte foundation that is not over drying. This Anastasia Beverly Hills did their thing with this one. I could see now why it took them forever to bring out another liquid foundation. That is a really good one. But anywho, moving along, I'm going to take my e.l.f. Cosmetics Ultimate Blending Brush and just begin to lightly apply. And for this one, I'm going to go in small sections as well as layers if needed. Because again, this is for those untouched areas. And then you just kind of take and lightly go over the areas that you've already applied your product. And the product is basically non-existent on my brush, like really nothing on here at all. And the bit that is, I am kind of thinning it out just because I don't need that much this time. And then again, up in the areas where there was product, very light stipple. And that's basically the residue that's left on the brush. You don't want to add much of anything else. Just remember the placement of it. All right, and to begin to set everything, I'm going to first, just because I'm a creature of habit, so I'm going to first set the under eye concealer. Juvia's Place I Am Magic. This is in shade Gobi. I opened this one recently and I was like, oh my goodness, why am I not using this? And I'm using a powder puff. Again, maximum control. And I'm going to use it to set down here too. Down here, like my chin. Set down here. And as I'm powdering my forehead, I just thought to myself, like, I didn't even do my brows. Well, I am traditionally a brows after foundation type of girl, but with underpainting, you can do your brows at any time, and you will not be applying brow product on top of foundation. That for some people is off-putting, which is why a lot of people tend to do their brows before foundation. When you underpaint, you have more flexibility. For bronzer, I'm going to use by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is a powder bronzer in shade Mahogany. This is her. And I want a little bit more control, so I'm going to use a more smaller brush than the one I normally use for my bronzer. This is also a Sephora brush. This brush is old as hell. Look, the wood is chipping off of it. This one is probably about a good 15 years old as well, but this one still has the number. It's a Pro Air brush number 55. And to set my entire face, I'm going to use by One Size Beauty their Ultimate Blurring Setting Powder in shade Dark or Deep, using a pointed powder brush from Elf Cosmetics. Just a light dusting. And because I don't want my nose contour to be so noticeable, I'm going to go over it with a little bit of bronzer using the same Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer, and I will be applying it using a Morphe E62 brush. And now I'm just going to apply some setting spray. This is the Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray by Charlotte Tilbury. And this will help this will help to set everything. All right, guys, so here is the final look. Off camera, I did do my brows. I basically just used the Precisely My Brow Pencil by Benefit Cosmetics. Shade I use is either 4.5 and sometimes I use 5. For this application, I used 5. And then I applied some Maybelline Sky High Mascara to complete my look overall. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Now hear me out. Underpainting is not a one-size-fits-all method, by no means at all. There are so many people out there that does theirs different than mine. This is the way that works for me. This is what I feel confident, comfortable, and definitely accomplished doing. I probably will feature underpainting a little bit more in my tutorials. You have to make sure you blend out all the things. You have to make sure that placement is correct and precise. And that can take some time on the videos. So I don't know. I'm going to play around with that idea and see where things go. But as always, in the description box below, there will be a complete list of all products used to achieve this look. And if you stuck around this long and you have not already subscribed, you might as well consider subscribing. And if you are subscribed, make sure to hit that notification bell so you are notified each and every Wednesday, Friday, and first Sunday of the month that there is a upload from me. You all continue to be well, stay safe, exercise, self-care. It is not a privilege, but a necessity. Make sure to check on your strong friends after you check in with yourself. And until next time, we shall chat again soon.